up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala,
Ba 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 ba.
your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news and the most buzzworthy topics with a touch of what, Terrence?
Touch of good old family values, man.
Good old family values.
Yeah.
Family values.
That's everything we're talking about today, family values.
Yeah. The thing that must be cherished because they're so easily eroded in this day and age, right, Terrence? Family
easily
values.
threatened. Easily threatened by pictures as well, yeah.
Yeah, today's going to be an interesting... It's just one of those days where the two topics are like, holy mama, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, they're just calling out to you from the moment you read them. You're like, okay, this is like a podcast-worthy topic.
Yeah, like even our voting process or our process to decide the topics is a lot more straightforward. La. Some days there's either nothing or some days there's too much, but today it's just these two plump topics to talk about.
Yeah, it was a unanimous decision, unlike in some of these topics.
Hey, Terrence, stop with the foreshadowing and seeding. La. How much you want to tease?
Okay.
How much you want to tease? Yeah.
Okay. But before that, we always have to... no, wait, today's not Monday, so I'm not going to ask you about your wedding. I'll give it some time. But it's a midweek, but it seems like a lot of activity, a flurry of activity going on now, right?
You mean in general, in Singapore, in news, or just in
Singapore, in China, in Iran, in the World Cup, everything. There's just so much going on at this point, right?
I can't remember what previous New Year's or Christmas seasons were like, partly because the past 2 years was so much of an anomaly. But normally it feels like it slows down, right? This one things are picking up, man.
This one is like the opposite. Yeah.
And I mean, I also think that why this World Cup is so interesting in terms of the results, controversies aside, is because it's being played at a different time of year. And all those upsets and all, I think it has something to do with it. It's unique, and people are getting thrown off, lah. So it's an exciting World Cup, exciting World Cup.
Yeah. And because now we're at the round where the basically the final group stage matches already, lah, right?
Correct.
We're starting to see who's going to advance through the competition.
Yeah, we already got a few into the round of 16, so it's going to be an exciting few days, man. Exciting few days.
But before all that,
man. Yeah, before
all
all
that. Plugging?
Just the good old plug of this podcast. If you've listened to this, if you've come across it, if it has made you smile, think, or even get angry a little bit, right? In a productive way, it'd be great if you could just share it with one person, at least one person. Send them a link. Send them a link to our Instagram, our TikTok, and just let's grow the Yalla Butt community, man.
Let's get angry productively together.
Angry productively, yeah.
You just said productive. You just said if
productive anger.
It makes you angry. Yeah, productive anger, lah.
Yeah, there's a lot of productive anger that can happen out there. Not destructive, but productive.
Productive anger, yeah.
Cool,
that's
man.
Right. Shall we jump right into it?
Jump right into it.
What is this contentious first issue that Singaporeans just can't reach a unanimous decision about?
Yeah, it is the announcement that as of yesterday, or as of Tuesday, 28th November, the 377A, Section 377A in Singapore will be repealed. And it was after 2 parliamentary sessions, totaling 10 hours, that happened across Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I saw people posting online that they were watching it live. Like, I've never seen people post online about watching Parliament live. Almost like an event. But the news has been full of it. There's been, actually very interesting. But generally, that's where we're at now. And now we're going to unpack the shit out of it, man.
Yeah. But I think the repeal was... we knew it was going to go through that, right? Because of the parliamentary... the parliamentary majority that the ruling party, PAP, has. But I think it was in the debate where there was a lot of interest because of the differing opinions between parties as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, correct. Yeah. I think that was what made it interesting. Like, it wasn't just the passing of a bill or legislation or amendment to the constitution. It was a debate where a lot of people spoke.
Yeah, and I don't know. So what was the most pertinent point in this whole thing for you? Like what was the main issue in this whole thing for you?
I mean, so just before I jump into that, like the decisions that came out was that okay, the 377A will be repealed, but also there was an amendment to the constitution to protect the definition of marriage from legal challenges.
Yeah.
So those were
correct.
the two big things that came out. I guess for me, the thing that stuck out was the extent to which this was debated that the public knew of. In the sense that previously, I mean, I think it was only a few years ago when they started live streaming parliamentary sessions, and people generally took a lot more interest in parliamentary debates. But I think for me, I was thinking, oh shit, like every topic is probably discussed like this or debated about, but this is a topic that is so touchy that it became clear of the process lah. And I was actually quite how you say pleased that they went to that extent, even if it's been happening in the past. But yeah, to see it like front and center was interesting like that. And of course, what people said here and there, we will back in jump into it. But what about you?
Yeah, I think just the lifting of the party whip by WP, I think was a big shock for me. In the sense that I think it caught a lot of people, probably more socially liberal people, by surprise lah. There will be a lifting of the whip in such for this issue, and yeah, we can dissect that further lah. And I'm sure you have like this, you have a timeline or something in front of you that you can't wait to jump on and just and give people the details of everything that happened, right?
I mean, depends how specific you want to get into it lah. But before we say that, what do you mean by lifting of the whip? Lifting of the party whip?
Yeah, so I think in the parliamentary system, like the different parties, like the leader of the party, it's like they have a means of basically getting the entire party in line to vote in a singular fashion on an issue lah, you know. So that's called the I think that's the role of the whip lah, right? The party whip, to literally get everyone in line, not literally, sorry, to figuratively get everyone in line to even whether you privately or personally disagree with something, to vote based on the party line. And so when the leader of the party lifts the whip, it means that he allows the MPs or the members of the party to express their views and vote freely without towing the party line. So in this case, the ruling party, the PAP, did not lift the whip, which meant that everyone has to vote for the repeal and for the constitutional amendment. Whereas Workers Party lifted the whip. That means that they allowed each member of parliament, Workers Party member of parliament, to state their beliefs or state their opinions and also vote in accordance to what they believed as well.
So basically, what you're saying is that if you don't lift the whip, basically what I would see as a viewer or member of the public is that, okay, this is the party stance. This is what they feel. But when you lift the whip, you can get a feel of like, okay, 95% of this party feels this way, and there's a few who feel the other way. So there's almost more transparency, right?
I would hesitate to just say that it's about more transparency, because the whip is about voting. I think what's important in parliament is the vote, right? Who you ultimately vote for. Like you can privately or personally disagree with something, but you have to vote for something. That's what the whip is about, you know. I don't think the whip says that you cannot say that you have private objection to a certain thing. So you're still allowed to express yourself, but you have to follow. You disagree and you commit lah.
I see. Okay, because that is an important distinction, because a lot of people took to the floor in parliament, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people shared their views, and sometimes when you watch it also, it's like, this sounds like, I don't know, it sounds just certain terminologies and phrases lah. I think I was listening to Liao, what's his name?
Gerald Giam, is it?
No, not Gerald Giam.
Dennis Tan, is it?
No. Shit, what's his?
The PAP member or Workers Party member or?
PAP.
Okay.
I will pull it up in a bit. But basically, Oh shit. Let me see. So it was interesting because certain things stuck out lah. Like, you know how a big theme was about how their perspectives are shaped by their friends, and how
Mm.
sometimes it goes against their beliefs. It was Mr. Lim Biao Chuan, PAP MP
Mm.
of Mountbatten. Um, I mean, the way he was saying, like, uh, for those that are homosexuals, like the like those people who are homosexuals and all that. So it just felt like the use of the term also, like, you wouldn't say those people who are Indians, or you could.
Mm.
It just felt very
Mm.
jarring sometimes when you hear some of them say the things that sound like, no, but it's like what I would imagine my uncle or auntie, traditional uncle or auntie would say lah. Even though in the end he did vote for the repeal, but
Yeah.
going back to the timeline, I mean, essentially at the end of two parliamentary sessions, the bill to repeal Section 377A, there were 96 votes, 93 for, 3 against, and
Mm.
with zero choosing to abstain lah.
Mm.
And amongst those that were against, it was Dennis Tan, who was a WP MP,
Mm.
Gerald Giam, also WP MP,
Yeah.
and Professor Hoon Hien Teck, nominated MP.
Mm.
So those two from WP are the ones that I guess a lot of people were surprised by lah.
Mm.
Were you surprised by
Yeah.
that?
Like I mentioned, I was quite surprised by Workers' Party lifting the party whip for this action. Because the ultimate thing is that it came down to Pritam Singh's decision, right, as the leader of the Workers' Party, whether he would lift the whip for this. And I think so in this case, he, broadly speaking, you know how he justified lifting the whip, right?
Yes, but please go ahead.
No, yeah, I think he justified lifting the whip as saying that it's part of the process of democracy to allow a diversity of voices and viewpoints in Parliament. And I'm paraphrasing that, right? So he found it important that to reflect the different voices, he would allow his his MPs to actually state their opinions and vote accordingly, based on that, So that was his justification, which I think later was later Shanmugam turned around and basically said that it showed a weakness in the Workers' Party, in the sense that the Workers' Party was not taking a stand on 377A and is trying to be all things to all men, to quote him exactly, which basically means they stand for nothing in general, So there's two sides. There's two ways. There seems to be two ways to look at this Pritam Singh's decision, But what do you think of it when you first heard about it?
I mean, on one hand, I thought that, okay, like the one thing that we have always spoken about, how PAP, there's no diversity of voices. It's either this or that. It's so binary. There's no gray at all. And it's almost like you speak to one PAP politician, it's almost like speaking to any one of them, because everybody is so dogmatic, So when I first heard he lifted the whip, and then I heard and saw excerpts of Gerald Giam and Dennis Tan, and I was like, oh, I mean, in some way that's good lah. We can't expect every political party to be completely uniform on every issue, because that is almost unrealistic lah. And you know how, like, we have seen that if you go all the way left, if you're left leaning, that's not good. If you go all the way right, that's not good. And how you keep yourself in check is by having diversity of opinions around you lah. So when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, that sounds good. But then after thinking about it, it was like, ultimately it feels like it would hurt WP, because if you even on the individual level, it's going to be very clear to voters what the MPs stand for lah. Those particular MPs, right? In some way, I mean, that's good that you can understand their stance, but to me, it feels like, wow, now everything the WP says, this will be at the back of my mind. That, there are people, it's not united. So that's where I'm still on the fence, but what about you?
Yeah, I find it hard to take away any positives from Pritam Singh's decision, to be honest. This coming off the back of the whole Raisha Khan incident, where basically I think Pritam Singh's leadership in the WP was questioned, right? What is going on in the WP ship, right? Why is there so much dissension within the ranks? Long time Workers Party cadre calling out their leader and then eventually quitting the party. And Pritam Singh, whatever it is, there seemed to be a very long delay in taking decisive action taking decisive action in the case of Raisha Khan, right? That's one thing that I think we can all agree on, regardless of the he say, she say, whatever the facts were of the incident. It just seemed like it took a lot longer than it needed to take for him to resolve the issue internally within the party. And a lot of people pointed that to the weakness of leadership, even though I think there were also attempts to paint it as that's him allowing his members of allowing his party members to sort out issues themselves, right? But at certain points when shit hits the fan and one party member's problems becomes a problem for the whole party, that's when the leadership needs to step in, right, to stop worse shit from happening. So that's the backdrop of what a lot of people are saying about Workers' Party and Pritam Singh's leadership, really.
Yeah.
So in this case, to bring up the fact that he wants diversity of voices in a matter like this, right? Especially because it's this particular matter where it's about the decriminalization of gay sex, which on principle, I think we've spoken about this before, where the law just doesn't make sense. It's the fact that they don't enforce it, it just doesn't make sense. It makes a mockery of the whole process of law. Plus, it's just discriminatory, right, against a particular minority of people. So it's not like allowing a diversity of voices, necessarily makes it a better kind of debate. You know what I mean? Like what you said earlier. Like what if you change what the Lim Biao Chuan was saying about homosexuals? You change the word homosexuals to a certain race, like minority race, like Indians or what, right?
Yeah.
Does him saying that something like that in Parliament, does that make a conversation better? Does it make you feel like, oh yeah, there's a diversity of voices. His views on race are equally as important as other people's views about race? It wouldn't, right?
If he starts every statement with, I have Indian friends, but
yeah,
I don't like the way they behave in groups. But I have Indian friends.
Yeah,
I have Indian friends.
And there's certain things about the Indian lifestyle that make me feel very uncomfortable, my personal beliefs. So if you were sitting at a dinner table and someone said that, would you say, yes, thank you for sharing your opinion? This is what it means. It's a diversity. You'd be like, fuck you, get the fuck out of my house, right? That's the first thing you would do. So in this case, I just find it, and yeah, like what I think I hope I have said it on record before and nobody digs up some old shit that I said.
You got Indian friends, is it?
No, not Indian friends, about the Section 377. I've always believed, I've always said that it requires a moral leadership, where you kind of come forward and say, hey, this law is not right, it's bad, it's discriminatory. And as much as it might be against your a lot of people's personal beliefs and religion, we have to take a step to move past it, And that's what leadership is about: making unpopular decisions that are for the good of everybody in society, right? And then that's what I believe that that's what leadership should be, So as opposed to diversity of viewpoints, go ahead, please state your justification for a discriminatory law that doesn't make sense. But to me, it doesn't add to the debate, and that's So that's why I thought about it.
But don't you think that even as a layperson, for me, just knowing that in WP there are two people who feel that way, and there's an NMP who feel that way, doesn't it kind of like inform you of the reality of things? And I say that because you know how for me personally, until I started listening to the right-wing commentators, I was like, yeah, they're all just dumbasses. I don't understand them, blah, blah. Same with Trump supporters, same with Brexit supporters. And we have seen that happen on a monumental scale with regards to the Trump elections and Brexit, where, you know what we always hear, that there was this group of society that no one really paid attention to, that no one was even aware of. And then it comes and blindsides us. So in this way, I would say my impression of WP has evolved. To me, I'm like, oh, okay, there's three people. Is it a negative evolution? Is it a positive evolution? I'm still shaping my head, but to a certain extent, I feel, okay, it's better I know what these two people think and what they would vote for, as opposed to not knowing.
So that means, I know voting is very hard to say just based on one issue, right?
Yeah.
But your general feel of Workers' Party, like, if push comes to shove, if like you're just basically asked to vote between Workers' Party and the PAP, is that affected in any way by what you've seen these three members of Workers' Party say?
I think voting for WP versus PAP just in general is a bit hard. But if it comes down to a certain issue, and maybe that's what. So I'm still on the fence whether it was a good thing or a smart thing to do. I'm just thinking from the perspective of me absorbing the news. How do I feel about WP? And I think, yeah, it has changed my perception a bit, especially when it comes to specific issues. Or maybe next time when Gerald Giam talks, or someone else talks, it just helps me, okay, understand this person better. I totally disagree with what they say. And maybe when it comes to the next elections, they won't even stand. But isn't that kind of the point of having elections? So people who don't have the most popular opinions or the best opinions are voted out?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. But at the same time, it just makes me confused about what the Workers' Party stands for on various issues. Because if they can't even come to agreement on something that to me it's a quite important issue. It's quite even though, just hearing all the arguments, I feel that it's we've heard all the arguments multiple times already, over decades already, right? And if at this point it still can't come to a general consensus about it, they still can't put aside their personal religious beliefs in order to come to a party stance on the issue, right? Means something is not right, lah. Something's not right in the house. That means the leader does not have enough clout or control, or not say control, because he wants them to have a voice. Fine, he doesn't have enough clout to persuade them that they're doing what they're voting against their conscience is actually for the good of the party or the good of the country. You know what I mean? And yeah lah. So to me, it's a very even now that I know more about WP, but not just about the three MPs, it makes me question whether Pritam Singh has his house in order, lah. You know, is he has confidence in him been shaken because of the whole Raisa Khan issue, that the more senior members of his own party don't even trust him as a leader, lah. Right?
Because even Faisal Manap, who is another WP MP, he also is against it. It's just that he fell sick. He's got COVID, so he couldn't vote. So so then a few things stick out, right? Is it good? Was it a wise decision from the perspective of like how you say WP's political appeal? Like, I actually feel less inclined to support them now. a bit because the one point you brought up about how the two people who spoke, Gerald Giam and Dennis Tong, they both had their faiths come into discussion. And even if you have like a couple of them, then it totally goes against what we keep saying about how Singapore needs to be secular, right?
Yeah, a separate religion from the state, right?
Yeah, and if that is motivating your convictions and your beliefs, that is like, whoa, man, like that's a problem. So the more we talk about it, the more I feel like if I had to chart my confidence or support of WP, it is taking a slight hit, even though it might be also I'm sure they also know that this would come with its own fair share of repercussions, both positive and negative. Maybe that's what they want to attack, PAP would hardly ever do this. So maybe they're trying to show, okay, we have nothing to hide. we have
Yeah.
diversity of opinions, and that is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
I guess the one thing to think about is if Pritam Singh had not lifted the party whip, right? Then after that, any PAP MP could turn around and say, you see, Workers Party essentially basically just following whatever we do. Whatever we suggest, they just follow. What kind of opposition is this? Opposition that just follows.
Oh, true, correct. Yeah.
So I can see a situation where Pritam Singh felt, okay, we are caught between a rock and a hard place. There's no right answer here. But again, I go back to because lifting the party whip or just enforcing the party whip doesn't mean that your MPs cannot express what their personal views were, right?
Yeah,
it's just
correct.
that when voting as in Parliament, you vote as a member of a team. You not vote as a member of a party, right? It's like playing football, right? You have a certain formation, and even though everyone wants to run forward and score the winning goal, because that's their dream to score a winning goal in the World Cup final and all that. But you need people to play their role and the formation, right? In order to win, it's a team game, right? You can't have everyone just like, okay, let's have everyone just try. You do what you want to do, and then we see whether that can bring us forward, that's how I feel about it now. Where it just shows a lot of dissension and maybe disorganization within the ranks at WP. There might be a little bit of a power struggle going on within the party. That can't be, that Pritam Singh hasn't been able to reconcile, and he's been forced to, like there are members who just say, no, I want to say my piece in Parliament, and it's not gonna jive with yours. I'm sorry,
Yeah, but like what you said, they can still say their piece, because when you listen to some speeches, it almost feels like, wait, are they for or against? And then in the end, they will vote for, let's say the PAP MPs, right? Then maybe it comes down to the nature of the issue also. Because I totally agree with what you said about how certain decisions, you can quantify it, you can look at ROI, you can look at this, but certain decisions are qualitative. And I'm not just talking policy, even personal life. There's always going to be this thing where you can justify you go one way, but no, there is the moral decision to make. And
I'm sure every day you are facing that kind of thing right now. Right?
Yeah, dude. That's why I say the personal issue, right? Like,
like when you're doing your wedding planning and all that, I'm sure you're facing situations where maybe you and your fiance might not be on the same page about certain things. But talking to family, talking to vendors, talking to whoever, service providers, whatever, you have to present a united front and give the same feedback, right? You can't be seen as like waffling, right?
Exactly.
I know that's on your mind. Because I know that's how it works.
Through a 24-hour parliamentary session. Okay? Living through it every damn week.
Has she lifted the whip? Has she ever lifted the whip for you?
No. So in her defense, I think so far we've been quite united on the front. It is the rest of the political parties that come into play. And you cast a vote, everyone decides. Then when parliamentary session ended, then something else will come. Some SMS will come. We're like, what? We finished the discussions. Matter closed. Okay, articles have been published.
Yeah.
So
and there's no whip. And some got no whip to enforce. Unfortunately,
no whip. Yeah, no whip. No timing to that starts and ends it. But the thing about having the moral leadership and all, this issue is so hotly contested, including the second thing about the
constitutional amendment.
Yeah, constitutional amendment. Maybe it is the nature of the case, because there are probably some issues where the lifting of the whip is the best issue to best way to do, or a possible way to do. Maybe issues that are not as consequential or have caused that much trauma, but to lift it on this, in some way it trivializes it, right? Or at least it's the feeling that I get just watching and reading, and I'm like, wow, I know you want to be like, okay, we can hear from everyone, but maybe it's the nature of the issue. Maybe it's a constitutional amendment, right? It's not, say, like banning PMDs or something.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people online who are feel very betrayed by Workers' Party. Maybe the younger, more liberal voters, especially those who voted in the last election for the first time, or living in Punggol or something, who felt like, this party will represent my more liberal beliefs and everything, And then now they realize, oh, actually, even within the party, there's dissension about some of the most basic tenets of social liberties and all that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's probably come as quite a shock to a lot of people. I mean, myself, I mean, I do consider myself quite generally socially quite liberal about some of these things. But yeah, I was just like, I thought that, if you're going to lift the whip, it wouldn't be for something so that to me is a much more of a, you lift the whip on this, you're basically opening up to a lot of like what you say, like the creeping of personal beliefs and religious beliefs into the secular space, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe it's just to, maybe WP knows that, okay, they're at least in the short term they will still have some seats in the parliament, but maybe it's to, okay, this is who we are, if you don't want them, vote them out lah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
correct,
an open call. I mean, it's all speculation, but one thing I am curious is they could have abstained, but they voted against.
Yeah,
Because the second one, the bill to amend the constitution to protect Sylvia Lim, she abstained.
Yeah.
And she said it's because it felt like a quid pro quo exchange for the repeal of 377A, and it just feels like it could open doors to other things. So she abstained. Whereas for 377A, there were 3 people who voted against.
Yeah, and
So
voting
almost,
against is a very strong statement, right?
Yeah, it's a very strong statement.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of chatter going on. Then of course you have the minor things like Shanmugam calling WP out for not taking a stance, and then Pritam coming and defending it, because it's like 10 hours of parliament.
Yeah.
10 hours of parliament.
Yeah. And there's a lot of speeches you can watch on YouTube as well. All the individual speeches.
Yeah, a lot of speeches. Then you got like some slap on the armrest that Pritam apparently made after her rooting
hurting
Ru did finish her speech, and then after that he posted on Facebook that he needed to pee. The fuck?
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it goes on to that. I think we talked about it, right? Where knowing that the leadership transition within the PAP is about to happen, a lot of people are saying that this was the hit that Lee Hsien Loong was willing to take for the team, before Lawrence Wong comes in, that he be the one announcing this repeal of 377A, as opposed to leaving Lawrence Wong to be the one to announce that at the nearer to the start of his leadership, which would then he would have to bear the hit for, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of plays in this whole narrative of like, that someone has to take the hit for the good of the party, right? For the good of the party, for the sake of society's progress and all, someone has to take the hit from the more conservative voters and all, which Lee Hsien Loong apparently is doing for the PAP now. So yeah, then now we're seeing the flip side of the leader of the opposition sort of opening the door for other people to speak their mind, which I don't particularly agree with.
Yeah. So I mean, it's at least in some way, this 377A debate has been going on for so long, and a few months ago they announced that it will be repealed, and then now we saw the debate. I mean, yeah, there's definitely going to be so much commentary going around on this. But yeah, if you're listening and you have some strong thoughts, maybe you watch all 10 hours.
Yeah.
Please do chime in. I mean, you watch double speed. Double speed.
Yeah, watch double speed. Yeah.
There should be an award, man, like a badge, given to people. If you watch all the whole time of Parliament, you should get a badge.
Yeah, or at least like some NTUC vouchers or something. You can use to go and buy snacks while watching the 10 hours. Right.
Correct. Yeah. Another brilliant idea.
That's the process of civil discourse, right? More people watching what goes on in Parliament and questioning what they see in Parliament as well, right?
I mean, there have been people who have messaged us in the past saying, can we do like a live reacting to Parliament? Wow, but 10 hours, holy shit,
10 hours, man.
I mean, maybe like in future, who knows, man? who knows what
Who
the
knows?
world has in
Yeah.
store for us.
It'll be like it'll be like football commentary lah. We will be commenting on how hard Pritam Singh hit his chair when he got up after the speech and
correct.
things like that.
I mean, it was like during the elections, like, there was that panel of 4 people.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think at some point we said in future, maybe the next election, we will be the Indian-Chinese pair on the panel instead of the two academics.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, speaking of family values and what's right for the family, right? That brings us to quite a big issue in the world of high fashion that has rocked the world of high fashion for the last 2 weeks or so. I'd say since the Paris Fashion Week. Yeah, and what is this big issue?
It's around this luxury fashion brand called Balenciaga. But before I go into what is it, Terence? What comes to mind when I say Balenciaga?
I know they do very edgy fashion products. They've been known to like sell a pair of aged sneakers for really expensive Adidas sneakers, if anything, for really expensive prices, and they just look like a pair of aged sneakers that they've been worn in. And that's about it. That's what I remember about them. Why?
No, I was just wondering because the only thing I remember is the IKEA bag, the IKEA bag lookalike, the one that was selling for like 3,000 or something.
Yeah. So is that Balenciaga specifically?
Yeah. I just googled it.
So edgy fashion products.
Yeah, edgy, almost like with a statement or something like that. So recently, earlier this month, they released their holiday ad campaign, and it basically featured 2 toddlers, two young children holding teddy bears. Except that the teddy bears are all in like BDSM gear, like bondage, leather straps, and costumes and harnesses.
But to be fair, those teddy bears with the leather straps were actually handbags that they were selling or they were launching as part of the fashion week, I think.
Yeah. It was available on the runway as well. So it was part of a fashion line. But it was just the fact that there were 2 kids, like in each picture, 1 kid holding the bag. Then a few weeks later, just like a week ago, November 21st, there was another ad promoting their Spring-Summer 2023 collection that showed like a picture of a desk, and there was some like documents on the table, and it was discovered that those documents appeared to be documents from the Supreme Court case called United States versus William, a ruling that upheld the act to increase protections against child porn. So, at the start of the month, there was the first ad campaign with kids holding these teddy bears in BDSM gear. A week ago, there was another ad that showed that court documents. Then the internet erupted and has reached a point where Kim Kardashian has come out and said, she's re-evaluating her relationship with Balenciaga. Balenciaga is suing the company behind the creative for $25 million US, and a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah. So specifically suing the company behind the creative that featured the bag on the Supreme Court documents, right?
Yes, correct.
Not the one with the child and the BDSM bear, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's against North 6 and the set designer. So, but what made you want to talk about this?
No, I think the whole thing is just like because of all the imagery that has been part of it. In fact, I think there's one more picture that also caused controversy. Was that there was one particular shot, I think it's the same one of the office table, and there's a model with the legs up on the office table. On the office table, there is one particular coffee table photo book that was by a very edgy artist who, and on the cover of the book, it features naked toddlers drenched in blood, playing with decapitated human body parts.
What?
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds a lot worse when I say it like that, but it's meant to be very edgy, controversial art, but again, it deals with like an artist who has images of naked children on on its cover and its pages, lah, right? So a lot of people have taken all these separate photos from separate campaigns and sort of pieced together this conspiracy on Twitter, lah, from what I'm seeing, a conspiracy theory of like Balenciaga, being part of some child pornography ring or something like that, and trying to make some insinuations about how child pornography should be decriminalized or whatever nonsense, like, it's basically a lot of like conspiracy theory fuel, right? So that has made it into the public sphere, and everyone's getting outraged over Balenciaga. But I think what to me is interesting is because you and I we have been part of productions, we know that there's a lot of different elements of any kind of production, like whether it's a photo shoot or video shoot or film shoot or whatever. There's always the creative like director. But then there's also like the set designer, and then there's like the photographer, and then there's the people who working behind the camera and stuff like that. And it seems like in this case, Balenciaga is suing the set designer. The person who created the set for the Supreme Court documents photo, right? They're suing them for the amount of 25 million, something like, right? And they did it very quickly also. It was like within a matter of days as well that they decided to sue the set designer. So I'm just like wondering, is it really something that Balenciaga can lay the responsibility for at the feet of the people who designed the set, as opposed to take responsibility themselves for a campaign that they approved? So to me, that's a big debate lah about the whole thing.
I mean, Balenciaga, they responded pretty fast, and they posted quite a lengthy worded statement on Instagram. Just to quote some things. Okay, we'd like to address the controversy surrounding our recent ad campaigns. The first campaign, it was a gift collection. They did admit that should not have been featured with children. This was a wrong choice by Balenciaga. But the second one that you were just talking about, they did say it was meant to replicate a business environment, included a photo. All items included in this shooting were provided by third parties that confirmed in writing that these props were fake office documents, which is what you said, like the set designer, right? And they did say it's most likely coming from the filming of a television drama. The inclusion of these unapproved documents was the result of reckless negligence, for which Balenciaga has filed a complaint. We take full accountability for our lack of oversight. And then they talked about the few steps that was going ahead. So So I guess, I mean, and just to clarify what I mentioned just now, the documents, it's actually from a court case that protected by freedom of speech the promotion of child porn. So that court case kind of said you can promote child porn because it's free speech, which is fucked up, right? So
it's very controversial, yeah.
Yeah, it's very controversial. So, like the reason you brought up the set designer thing and all, I mean, okay, so for our TV shows and all, we also have set designers. We also have props. So what's some stuff about the set design process, Terence, that maybe someone who hasn't been involved in set designing might not be aware of?
I mean, yeah, so the reason these roles have to be separated, right? Like you can't have the director do all that is because it's just too much to do, right? The director ultimately, you're not only dealing with the set and the shot and the lights and the cameras and everything. You're dealing with the talent. You're dealing with the client. You're dealing with a lot of different aspects of everything. You have to make all these little decisions for everyone. So definitely the director would have left some leeway to the set designer to make decisions or decide to put certain things on the table or during the shoot. But ultimately, doesn't the buck still stop with the director? And if not the director, then the creative agency behind the campaign. And if not a creative agency, then the client who has the final oversight over everything, right? So to me, it's kind of like Balenciaga trying to throw somebody under the bus in order to save their own skin. Because ultimately, the photo was taken. It was, reviewed by, the director or the photographer. Then it had to be reviewed by some creative agency behind the campaign. Then it had to be reviewed by the executives at Balenciaga. Then it had to be reviewed by the bosses of those executives at Balenciaga before it actually goes out, right? So to suddenly turn around and say that, oh, it's the set designer's fault, I feel like it's a bit of abdication of the responsibility and trying to blame someone else for the very lazy attempt at being edgy or something,
So they're lifting the whip on this, is it?
Not just lifting the whip, much like lifting the whip and you whip the person, then throw them under the bus, Yeah.
No, because it is true. Like anyone listening who's been in the creative space, either as a creative or in marketing or sales, you know that any campaign, any visual is scrutinized to the max. I mean, even for people who post on Instagram regularly, I mean, if you have edited photos, you know that you can really go into details. So for this kind of campaign, which is a global campaign, confirm you would have like hundreds of pairs of eyes looking at it, right?
Yeah. Everything is scrutinized. Everything, yeah.
Everything is scrutinized. And let's say if we were doing a TV show and I was acting and you were directing, and for some reason the makeup artist put like super thick eyebrows on me. If I went to you, Terrence, I'm like, why are my eyebrows so thick in the scene? And you told me, sorry, the makeup artist did it. I'll be like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
You were looking at my face in the screen, and it's on you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on you, right? So that's why it feels like there's more to it than whatever we are seeing. It just feels like, I mean, in this day and age, you see Balenciaga, who clearly understand media, clearly understand, I don't know, like a good amount of human psyche and thoughts. To do this just feels like children, no. Children is almost one of those universal things you don't go close to.
Yeah.
In terms of exploitation, like any condescension, anything. Kids, just stay away from kids. But they still did this.
But you think there's a possibility? Because every photo seems to have something related to almost exploitation of children, right?
The Illuminati,
No, I mean, not Illuminati. Maybe they were just trying to be really cheeky in the advertising, where every photo has some little Easter egg, so to speak, in it that points towards something very controversial. You think that's just maybe they thought, oh, this is it's so cool, it's so edgy that we're doing this, and nobody will actually notice it. Maybe they'll notice it years later. You think there's a possibility that they thought that executives were thinking that way, and then it's sort of backfired on them when people could immediately call them out and then started to piece all of it together?
I mean,
almost too successful in that sense.
Like, okay, I don't think they are dumb people. Just give you the benefit of the doubt that, okay, these people are dumb. I mean, if you're an agency working with Balenciaga, I'm guessing you had Balenciaga probably can have people knocking on them to be their creative agency. Photographers knocking on them, even employing the staff of Balenciaga, they're not going to be dumb people. I almost feel that maybe because in the past when they have skirted with controversy, it's almost one of those things that just makes them more popular. And with how fast people forget shit these days, right? Maybe even they, after calculating, taking into account the risk assessment, the benefits of this is still going to outweigh the downsides, because it just feels too dumb to do this. Too dumb. They might lose Kim Kardashian, but I don't know, maybe there are other people that they want to work. Yeah, it just feels like can't be a slip off. Can't be they didn't know. I don't know, maybe I'm giving them too much credit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what it was is that they thought it was something edgy, but somehow when it comes to child abuse and images of that kind of hint at or reference child abuse, that's when it really crosses the line for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're the edgiest artist or the coolest artist and all that kind of thing, you just don't want to go there, right? Because you're talking about you're talking about something that I think, regardless of your religious beliefs or whatever, political slant, whether you Workers Party, PAP, or you lifted the whip or don't lift the whip, you just don't go there, right? You just don't make a joke about that. You don't make references to that, because it's stuff that, like, traumatizes people, traumatizes families for life, right? So I think that may be where they were thinking that they were just being a little naughty, a bit edgy, but they didn't realize that it would cause this kind of reaction, right?
Yeah.
That even Kim Kardashian would, I'll reevaluate my relationship. Not that should deter anyone from doing anything
Whether
edgy,
Kim
but
Kardashian gonna reevaluate or not. What are the odds of that?
yeah, but it's very different being edgy for making a bag that looks like IKEA bag, or selling a pair of 700-pound sneakers that look like just worn out sneakers, versus like having anything that promotes child exploitation or abuse, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's somewhere in there's a line that says do not cross, and
Do not cross kids.
I think they crossed that line this time, yeah.
And I mean, don't know, but have you seen a lot of news in Singapore about it? I haven't actually seen much.
Yeah. No, but I mean, Singapore is not exactly the fashion mecca of the world, right? Other than the Benjamin King and a bunch of other influencers and some rappers and all, who really wears Balenciaga out and about, lah? Or if you unless you're like an auntie at Paragon or something, right? You really wear Balenciaga walking around, yeah.
But then, like, the fact that they're in fashion, which is already an industry that has so many issues of exploitation and underage labor, to do this, I don't know, man. Maybe they're gonna unveil something in the coming week as one big, like, it's a prank, gotcha.
And this coming off the fact that they also just cut ties with Kanye West as well. Or Ye. They cut ties with Ye because of his anti-Semitic beliefs or anti-Semitic rants, right?
I tell you,
so they've not had a very good month or so, yeah.
Dude, I tell you, this is just like the new marketing playbook. Just do something so controversial because people will lose their shit, but the next week they won't. You know what? Let's just do some podcast on some ridiculous topic that people hear only. They're like, oh my god, that will get us global attention. Global attention. Global attention. And then after that, we just put some Instagram post saying, we're sorry, we should have done better. We are suing the company that makes our mics, to allow us to have these discussions. Even Reddit. Yeah, but we will do better, lah. But then by then we got more followers already.
But also you'll be uninvited from a lot of places, and you might not be able to hold your wedding at wherever you're planning to hold your wedding and all that.
I released the episode at the wedding. I go up I wasn't planning to give a speech, but you know what? Why not a 1 hour podcast? And I just play.
Yeah. But I mean, are we being too prudish about this whole thing? You feel?
In what sense?
Like if you were to talk about this to your dinner parties with other Singaporean people, they'd be like, whatever, I don't care. Nothing to do with me.
About the issue, or about just the concept of like you having a child wear a teddy bear kind of thing?
Both, yeah. Like maybe you ask the actual parent, you'd be like, it's quite cute, it's quite funny,
I mean, then it goes down to the thing like, what? I mean, it's just a picture. You don't like, you don't look, You don't like, you don't look.
Yeah. So, what's wrong with that? Well, I mean, like, that's art. An argument, right? Yeah, it's art. It's not. I mean, it features a child, but it's not directed at children. The ad is for adults who can afford to buy Balenciaga, and obviously, a child's not going to buy that, right?
I don't know, man. This one just feels like it's a bit too how you say with children. With children, I think it changes things. Like I mean, the biggest thing is that for minors and all, it's easy for them to get exploited for a whole bunch of reasons. So this one, I don't know, man. I would like to hear from someone who thinks there's really no issue with this, and that it doesn't erode family values. It doesn't erode family values, because ultimately, if a child sees that, will they engage in BDSM or get BDSM teddy bears? Probably not. So why does it matter?
Freedom of speech, right? You should be allowed to.
Freedom of speech.
You should be allowed. I guess, what you said is true, in that when you actually show children, I mean, even down to like taking a photo like that, right?
Yeah. The
photographers. Were the parents there to consent to to the use of these BDSM bears and everything. And I mean, I hope they have all I hope they had everything lined up, lah. Yeah, because every time you have a minor on set, a child on set, and all, you need to really make sure that the parent is there to consent to anything that they ask the child to do, lah. Right. So yeah, it just becomes very touchy when there's a child involved, and then that's why I feel like it's not as simple as just saying, oh yeah, freedom of speech, you can say and do whatever you want, because there literally is a minor in the photo, lah, right?
Maybe yeah, exactly. What about the parents? I mean,
but even if the parents say, oh yeah, this is totally normal and all that, do you think people will accept that? Okay, yeah, so this parent says it's okay for their child to be exposed to this kind of thing.
No,
so
if the parent says, we got paid $200 million each, and we have secured the world-class education for our kids and their kids and their kids.
Yeah.
Then how? Then it becomes a case of like, I mean, there will always be people who would find this okay. Then it becomes a question of moral leadership. Terrence. Who is
correct.
the Pritam Singh in Balenciaga?
Yeah.
Who's allowed this shit to be executed, I mean, it just feels like I don't know, man. Feels like there's something there. I mean, now that there's a lawsuit, there will be follow-ups to probably happen. There will be. It's already public. The celebrities are talking about it, so it's not going to die off anytime soon. Yeah, man.
I mean, even for us, right? Yeah, even for us, I think when we were filming our TV series and all, there was some. It was an adult rated TV series, right?
Yeah.
But there was also a child on set at certain points, and I think we were very careful to make sure that the parts where we're filming the more adult scenes and everything, where there were more adult props around, we had to separate them from the child, right? And not have the child even run up to the point where the child's like, hey, what's all these adult things lying on the table and all that, right?
Correct. Yeah,
I think we took a lot of steps to ensure that didn't happen. Yeah. So I feel like somewhere along the line somebody just basically dropped the ball and said, oh, it's okay, it's just a picture, it's funny, it's edgy, it's funny, and they didn't think about the larger picture of things. Yeah.
Oh, interesting week, man. Just over the past few days.
Yeah. Over the past few days.
Heavy shit.
But yes, if you have any strong thoughts about this, please head on to our subreddit and let us know. But speaking of subreddit, do you have a one shot comment as well?
Yes, I do. My one shot comment actually comes from Instagram. It was a private DM, so I won't mention the name or anything. But this person says that they love our podcast and that I'll just read the message. My partner and I have been listening to it together during our car rides, beach tanning, and gym sessions. Enjoy the perspectives you both provide, added some sparks to our day, to conversations that were once mundane. Awesome. Thanks so much for listening. And I mean, I guess I've never thought about it this way, that sometimes people listen to podcasts alongside other people, which I guess makes it fun. Like, I mean, if it was any one of us just covering the episodes on our own, it'll also be boring. So, and also I know when I was watching, what's that Korean dating show that I was obsessed with for a while? Fuck, the one at the beach. Fuck, shit. Oh, Inferno.
Singles Inferno. Singles
Inferno. If I watched it alone, I'll be like, But because I watched it with my fiance, it was fun to just go along with the ride with them. So I mean, so
what do you mean when you watch it alone? When you watch it alone, you just What's that mean? What's that mean?
What noise is that? I made that noise.
I don't know. Yeah, you made that noise. So I was like, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I was like, no, it won't be as fun if I watch it alone, because then you can't.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Then you thought, why?
What the noise. That's why I didn't know what noise were you making.
Yeah, no, watching it alone.
Like, I was watching Singles Inferno, then all the girls in bikinis there, I was like,
Yeah, no. Singles Inferno is about social dynamics.
I see.
It's about human interaction. So shout out to the person who sent us that message. And what about you, man?
I think in response to us talking about the COVID protests in China, episode 344 on Reddit, Sometimes Incorrect has posted something really interesting from his or her perspective as a Singaporean working in Shanghai. and just experiencing this protest, which quote unquote is unreal. So nothing of this scale has ever happened in China since the Tiananmen Square incident. So yeah, I think I encourage anyone who wants like a Singaporean perspective on the ground to read this post by Sometimes Incorrect, because I think that's the hardest part, right? Getting like real, verifiable information out of China. And I think this Yalabat listener and Reddit commentator has given a very good breakdown of what he or she is experiencing on the ground, and why and how the Chinese people on the ground are thinking about certain issues. Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to
cool.
Sometimes Incorrect. Yeah.
Sometimes Incorrect. Cool.
Yeah.
And what about the one shook thing, man?
My one shook thing actually also is related to China, because I think I just been very interested to try to understand what is happening on the ground in China, how people are thinking. And I found one podcast that was doing a weekly podcast in the middle of November that talks about events in China, and they have a lot of insight on how people in China are reacting on Chinese social media, or being at the protest itself and seeing what people are doing. So yeah, do check out this podcast. It's called Drum Tower. Just launched a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, Drum Tower. But like, how do you discover new podcasts like this? My podcast discovery thing is a bit lacking. So I'm also looking for a few new podcasts.
Yeah, I think Spotify sometimes suggests new podcasts, and I try to give them like a play, at least one episode or something, and then see whether it's interesting for me from there. Because I mean, even podcast itself, I don't listen to every podcast from every episode from every podcast either, right? I usually wait until there's something that I'm particularly more interested in, then I click through on it. So I think I just happened to be looking up China COVID on Spotify, and then this came up as well. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But
so,
yeah.
but and you listened to how many episodes so far?
Oh, only one, because I think they've only had like 3 episodes so far, or 2 episodes. So it's still a very new podcast, but the fact that it's economist reporters on the ground in Taiwan and China, I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, because I've also been, I've been seeing a few more articles saying, the West is blowing up the issues in China, and like it's not that bad and all. But I'm also starting to see a bit more from people in China saying, yo man, it's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's right.
So, but that's cool.
And what is your one shook thing?
My one shook thing is this one article in particular from a website that I think I may have spoken about previously, maybe not as a one shook thing. The website used to be called Brain Pickings.
What pickings,
and now
sorry?
they're Brain Pickings, like your brain.
Okay.
Yeah, Brain Pick, and it's basically a one-person show. It started by Maria Popova. It's been running for like 13 years, and it's always just articles that do exactly that. Like they pick your brain, and it's very thoughtfully written. And a few years ago, they changed the name to The Marginalian. But there's one article which came out, I think last year, called 13 Life Learnings from 13 Years of Brain Pickings, where she just talks about the process of building brain pickings and certain things that stuck out to her, because she writes about a lot of different things, like from specific writers or biographies, but specific thoughts, and all very eloquently. And these are just 13 things that she learned. And I'll just read out one that when reading it, I was like, wow, fuck, that's beautiful, man. So number 8 is seek out what magnifies your spirit, which was said by Patti Smith in discussing William Blake and her creative influences. So they talk about writers and artists who magnified spirit, and just the phrase, magnify your spirit, talking about the people, ideas, and books that magnify your spirit. I just thought the phrasing was nice, and these 13 points are all similar like that. And of course, there's a whole bunch of articles that she's written in the past, and it just makes for very thoughtful reading. Some other articles are like the difficult art of giving space in love, how to grow old. So when you're feeling reflective and all, right, wow, this website is super power, man. And it's just one person doing it.
So
she's got like 4 million followers or something.
So does Singles Inferno magnify your spirit?
No, but it magnified the spirit of my fiance.
Oh,
No, my
I see, I
fiance
see.
magnified my spirit while watching Singles Inferno.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's all about finding people who magnify your spirit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
hear, like the 5 people around you shape you the most, but I just thought the phrase, magnify your spirit. Who are you as a person? What is your spirit? And find people who magnify that.
But you hold the magnifying glass under the sun, later it'll catch fire.
Fuck you, lah, Terence.
I just have to point it out, lah. Have to point it out. Don't go too close to
I don't
open
care
sun.
what you say.
Yeah,
And you know
yeah,
what?
yeah.
The past 5 minutes, you haven't been magnifying my spirit. Okay? Yeah. No,
I've been-
no more.
I've been putting a magnifying glass on your one shop thing, and then not happy. Diversity of
Yeah,
voices. This is what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. Diversity of voices. But sometimes the whip deserves to be put, and the whip deserves to be given out, lah.
One shook whip. One shook
Magnify
whip.
my spirit. To all those listening, okay? If someone like you, like Terence, doesn't magnify your spirit, take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break. Yeah.
You have one shook whip.
Stick to the things.
Yeah.
One shot whip.
Use it. Yeah.
Use it, man. But yeah,
Cool.
that's it for today, man. Thanks for
All right.
listening, everybody.